views expressed are those of the participants and do not represent an endorsement of any particular position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is intended to provide information, observations, and entertainment. Guests are encouraged to comment, like, share, or subscribe.
Good evening, everyone. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, I'm smooth as a Rolls Royce. I'm coming to you live from the 571 where I'm having fun and I'm getting things done. Tonight's show is going to be an interesting one. We're going to be talking about has Hollywood completely feminized the black man's image in the media? I'll be quoting some of the article of Nikki Ajayi. She wrote an excerpt from Say Yes to the Dress, the Emasculation of Black Men in Hollywood and Homophobia. Today, usually I'm joined by Chocolate Pearl, my favorite girl. I'm also joined by the sweetest lady in the universe, the woman that's sweet as Snapple, Miss Apple, and the girl that's mean and never mean, Miss Bean, and I'm waiting on my guest host, Mr. Chandas T. Jackson. He is a screenwriter, just a little thing behind him. He's a 1993 graduate of Howard University. He's got his MBA from the University of Michigan. He's also served in the United States Army, obtaining the rank as captain before getting out to pursue his current line of work as well as other things. He's been married for, see, 2001. He just been married for just over 24 years. His anniversary was last week. I know this because I was the best man in his wedding in Birmingham, Alabama, and um, I'm gonna bring him on. Come on, Chandas, get on camera and tell him a little bit about yourself.
Great, man. You give some wonderful introductions. Can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we're good. We can
Okay.
hear you.
I don't, as far as the intro, I don't have anything else to add. I mean, you got my anniversary was August 25th. So you got that down to the T. So that's crazy, man. Um yeah, so thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And I appreciate you for coming on. Could you tell the audience what shows have you written for so far in your illustrious career?
Sure. I've written on CBS show called Bull, which is no longer on the air. It's I guess you can call it a legal show that's more or less related to the star Michael Weatherly being a a jury whisperer. And so I wrote on that show, wrote a military themed episode on that show, but also did everything from pitching and developing different show ideas. Another show which actually did not make it to series that season one did, but not season two, is a show called Long Slow Excel, and that was on, I believe, BET and Spectrum. It's a basketball show about female basketball team in college, and the other things that I've done have been more or less features, independent features that I've sold. I've sold something to Netflix and sold some other projects to smaller, I guess you can call it independent production entities.
Anything on Tubi?
Nothing. That's a good example. Nothing on Tubi right now. It's so funny. I actually just had a pitch meeting for a new show idea, Trey. So we should talk as it deals with the world of military and also military technology and AI. I know you used to recruit in some facet, so yeah,
Yeah, that was the last time. No, that wasn't the last time we saw each other. We saw each other when you dropped your daughter off at Howard
that's right.
a couple of years ago. But um, yes, artificial intelligence in the military is a big thing these days. Secretary of Defense, the Honorable Pete Hegseth, one of his stated missions is to improve decision making through artificial intelligence and machine
Hmm.
learning. Um, he's I as a program manager for all Army civilians that do cybersecurity and cyber IT. I also work with some AI and machine learning folks. So it's a thing that they're working on to be able to replace the back end of decision making, where what we used to call, and we were in the same unit back in the day, the sausage making, where
Mm-hmm.
you're doing everything that's leading up to the actual decision, present the leader with the decision. So, in as far as AI is concerned, what do you think before we go into our subject?
I think, specific to the military, I mean, I think there's a wealth of opportunity for our service members. I'm curious to see how they will utilize it more or less on if it's going to be on the warfare side and more information gathering. So who knows? But I think in the broader scheme of things, we're in the beginning phase. We're in first quarter, so there's a lot that's going to affect people in the commercial space, big time, big time. So. It's
No,
even affecting in my industry as well.
that's what I was gonna see. You read my mind, Candace. How is AI affecting screenwriting, scripting, and producing?
Well, primarily on the screenwriting side, it's primarily what you guys might think of even today. It's like, hey, AI, Chat GPT, give me 5 to 10 ideas about something. And then you keep drilling down and drilling down. So I think for the most part, AI does give some insight into just being able to brainstorm. And and when you think of the writing room, me being on a writing staff, and I'll talk more about that, it really is a think tank. And all you have is just a bunch of uh, brilliant, bright people, just like folks on this line right now, coming up with ideas, and then someone takes that and then it goes off and they write that. So AI really will come into play because it's generating all of that from a writing standpoint. On the directing and so forth, I think, and producing, I think it really won't take the place right now of directing because ultimately AI it's a tool and it can't really it can't give you those emotional beats, those emotional moments. Logically, it can get you there, but it still can't give you everything. And so I think right now we're still a couple of years, maybe 5 years away from you being able to see something and you can't tell the difference between it being AI or human generated. Now you can. You can kind of say, oh, okay, it looks a little sheeny, glossy. That's AI. But I think we're going to be at the point where you won't be able to differentiate.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's definitely wonderful. But talking about getting back on the subject, I'm just going to read a quick excerpt that I kind of used AI to help me come up with the idea. But Hollywood's portrayal of Black men has ignited intense debate, particularly concerning representations that challenge heteronormative gender roles. From Tyler Perry's Medea to Billy Porter's iconic red carpet appearances, the visibility of Black men in dresses has sparked conversations about masculinity, gender identity, and representation in the field. Though the limited binary concept that Black men are either dangerous or thuggish, and I want to talk about that a little later, or
Mhm.
effeminate and wimpy, uh, a liminal space was created through which Black men can be accessed palatably by society, which also has roots in slavery, through drag. There is a notion that it's a rite of passage for a Black man in Hollywood to achieve success, and that is to go through and say yes to wearing a dress. Tyler Perry did this with the Medea franchise in the aughts, Eddie Murphy with Norbit in 2007, and Martin Lawrence in Big Mama's House series between 2000 and 2011. All of these men have on to achieve wealth, success, and status in their respective careers in acting and producing and comedy. These portrayals, often featuring Black men in dresses, have sparked conversation about perceived masculinity, gender identity, and the broader indications for heteronormative societal perceptions. Is this a progressive move towards gender inclusivity, or does it perpetuate harmful stereotypes of emasculation and homophobia? One of the things that I was thinking is um, there are a lot, and I've noticed this. I'm not saying it's anecdotal, but over the last 6 or 7 years, every major black hit had at least one male LGBTQIA character. For example, I don't know if you've heard of the show. There was a show that came on one season. It was a spinoff of the Nancy Drew show on the CW called Tom Swift, which I happen to like the show. Dude was a brilliant. He was a young black billionaire. Of course, he was in the community, and he was trying to get his father into space. And that was the premise. And then you had Empire. Empire. It showed us as it showed different aspects of black men, but one of them had to be, LGBTQIA. There are other shows like that, and it goes way back to Revenge of the Nerds. If you remember, and I love that movie, Lamar
Yeah, with
Latrell.
Lamar with the I remember that. That's funny.
So if we're not thuggish, ruggish bone, we're not super spade, meaning those blackety black action heroes of the 70s and early 80s, or we're some kind of asexual, we don't get the leading woman, especially if she's not melanated type of deal, i.e., Man on Fire with Denzel, um, movies like that, and even the Equalizer movies. He didn't have a love interest, but
Yeah.
he was the star, and he had the high action. Um, why do you think that is? As a person who's been on the inside and see how the magic's made, why do you think it? I'm not saying that it's an agenda, but it just seems that way. I'll shut up and let you talk.
First of all, you've given a big setup here, and I was talking to Melina about this as well. Melina is my wife, and a big part of this, I feel, is that it comes down to a lot of laziness in the industry. And when I say laziness, I'm talking. I don't think there's necessarily this is an agenda per se to have um, the I guess the emasculation, this feminization, all of this. I don't think there's an agenda, but what I will tell you is this: when you have a body of people who is on the side of generating content, and that body of people doesn't look like us on the call here. It doesn't probably look like different people in different communities. You have people that are just taking what I would call a cursory look at stories and then thinking, oh, let's get a black gay guy. Well, let's do this. Let's do that. And before you know it, you really don't have the people that are on the inside creating content based on really a personal connection. They don't. And so I think the issue, while I do think there is there are more of what we would call, LGBTQIA. I don't know all the acronyms, but I think that's what it is. I would say that we're what at the heart of the matter is that the people that are on the inside are not the people who should be creating the content and the stories, because what they're going to create is just basically what they think they need to put in. And I'll go one step deeper. I think the problem that I've seen is that the essence of stories that are out there. You can go back to Flip Wilson, when Flip Wilson had who was the character he had in drag? I can't remember. I think it was Geraldine. Remember that
Yes,
character?
yes, it was Geraldine in the late '60s, early '70s.
That's right. That's right. At the beginning and the forefront of comedy, the way the industry made content for Black folk was basically through comedy, and the drag and all of that, which is what we see now in Tyler Perry. To me, is just an offshoot of that. Spike Lee has termed it coonery and buffoonery. I don't necessarily like uh, that categorization of it, but in a way, he's right. And what I'm saying is that Hollywood would rather tell stories that are at a surface level, and bringing in this type of what I would call characterization makes it easy, and then they're done. They don't want to go any deeper, and they think that that's what we want. And I think the power is that we, as consumers of content, and as people that have what I call an elevated understanding of what good characters are, need to say, no, I'm not going to watch that. I want to watch this. Yeah, we can eat potato chips at some point, but you can't eat potato chips all the time. You want to get that what I call substance and everything, and that's really at the heart of the problem.
And on that level, do you think that's why Sinners worked so well?
I think so.
Because
Go ahead.
they, if you notice about that movie, all the characters were pretty well developed,
Hmm.
and Ryan Coogler did more than just put out a typical vampire movie. He
Hmm.
used actual circumstances and actual social norms and actual events around to surround that Clarksdale, Mississippi, 1932. They both were World War One veterans, moved up to Chicago, and how it all came and congealed in one area in that one night, to where everybody, you can actually, how can I put this? You can actually relate to some of the characters. You can relate. You can see some Smoke in you. You can see some Stack in you. You can see some Annie in you. You can see some Mary in you. You can see some Sammy. You can even see Delta Slim in some of in some of the people that we saw. You can see Grace. You can see Bo. You can see Remnick. You can see all those people, and Cornbread. You can see all those people and relate to them, especially as people of color. We looked at that and was like, wow, it wasn't just, when you have people, black people directing those films. There's a more of a, it's less palpable to other audiences, but to us, that's kind of the catnip that we get, that we want to see more of, but we don't get that.
I think you hit it on the head. I think that totally is true. I mean, the characterization, when I look at what I'm working on, and when I look at how the industry respects other creatives, you want things to be layered. You want it to be some nuance in it, and you want to really, if not see yourself, see someone that because that's what makes it real. And I think that's really the crux of the matter, because one of the things I can say, whenever, and we all have done this when we watch something. Whenever you've watched something, whether it's a movie, TV show, or whatever, and a character does something, you're like, man, that that rubbed me the wrong way. I don't think they would do that. I don't know anybody would do that. Or why would they say that? And that just means that someone in a room, someone on the creative side, probably was and it's not uncommon, a black show with an all white writing team, which isn't, or a non-black, writing team, did something and took a creative license that made no sense. And so that connectivity, that connected tissue, just pushed us out of the creative, uh, made us not even want to watch it anymore. And I've been that way. And so it could be dialogue, it could be whatever. And so it is just about that, having whatever you're connected to really reach back and touch you in some way. And that's the beauty of the craft. Kugler did it well with Sinners, and I think there are other stories out there as well. But that's really going back to the ultimate, what I would call, when we talk about, how black men are portrayed. My basic understanding is ask who are creating these black men, these narratives that we see. What's behind that? Most of the time, when they're coming off and it's not authentic, it's not being created by us, and it's not being created by people who know black men or understand what's going on. That's the real problem, because when we
So
do, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so here's a question, it's along those
Yeah.
lines. Norm Lear in the early '70s with Good
Hmm.
Time.
Hmm.
Was it good because it, not, I'm not going to say super accurately portrayed, But was it good because it did deal with the situation for Black people at the time, or was it just something because we hadn't really seen ourselves in on screen?
You said, was it good because it did not, or it did deal with
It did
at
deal
this?
with modern day problems at that
Okay,
time that
got
affected the Black community. You
yeah,
remember it dealt with childish abuse. It dealt
yeah,
with smug use. It dealt with venereal social stuff and
yeah.
pregnancy, all of that,
I
all of those things that were happening during that time.
I think two things can be true with that. The show was actually created by this gentleman, and I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of years ago at the WGA, named Eric Monty. Eric Monty, and I don't know if I think he's still living, but he was a young writer at the time who then took the show to um, pitched it to Norman Lear because it was a spinoff of Maude. I think it was a spinoff of
Right.
that show.
Yes. Yes.
And from Maude, it because I think Estoril was on that, but in any case, Maude then became Good Times, and so the characters within that, and so I think Black folks saw themselves in a way that we hadn't seen ourselves during that time, but also it was the sense of truth, and comedy was a way to kind of give it, some spice and flavor. But that was totally Eric Monte's brainchild, and he went on to create other shows after Cooley High came out. The movie that is. That's how What's Happening became a show because of Cooley
Yep.
High, and so it just became that. And that was on ABC. Good Times. I can't remember what network it was on, but that was something like,
CBS.
yeah. So that was them wanting to get into the storytelling for the Black community as well. Yeah.
Right. And those things that we talk about and go into that, like Sanford and Son.
Hmm.
Um, it was, even though the original was Steptoe and Son in Great Britain, it was rewritten, but there you could tell that there was some Black influence on that show in the way it depicted Black folks even then. And then you had, like you said, you had What's Happening. You had Demond Wilson had a show called Baby I'm Back. You
Hmm.
had a few you had a few shows in the 70s that, you know, talked about different parts of Black life, but you
And
didn't
Norman
have
Lear, Norman Lear, just to jump in real quick, was one of those creatives who leaned into it because he was someone who saw not just what I would call the storytelling that was there, but he saw the money,
yeah,
and from his show that he did, what is it, Archie Bunker? I think
right.
that was the
All
name
in
of
the
it.
Family.
All in the
All
Family.
in the
Yeah. That was one show that had the most spin-offs ever. I mean, the Jeffersons came out of that as well. So
Yep.
it had like five other shows that came out of that show. And so it really is, people when they look at this realizing, and he did, this is good for for what we can tell story-wise, but actually this can make a lot of money.
And going along those lines, you go into the 80s where you had the Cosby Show, where white people didn't think that it would be successful because two Black professionals with children, and they weren't just like blue collar, they were white collar. They were married, they were white collar, they had a upper middle class vibe to it, but it became the number one show on NBC. You didn't start seeing LGBT characters, Black ones at least, until the late 80s with Designing Women, with Meshack Taylor playing. Well, he played a movie Hollywood in the movie Mermaid, but that was,
Mm-hmm.
the he was more of the not straight friend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
trying not.
I never, you know what? I never watched that show. I remember him on it, but that's true. You know.
And and then remember, I don't know if you remember the TV show Spencer for Hire was on ABC in the mid
Yeah.
80s. they did a spinoff called A Man Called Hawk with Avery Brooks. That's where he got his first actual starring role before Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
And it didn't do well because Hawk was blackety black at a
Mm-hmm.
time in the 80s where being blackety black was not really getting the numbers, with the exception of maybe A Different World, because A Different World got blacker as the show went on, if you noticed that.
It totally did. And Avery Brooks, he's always played certain roles that were what I call black empowered to me. You know,
Yes.
even in the Star Trek canon, he's one of those characters you knew you were about to get enlightened. Like the character Rock, from the show. I can't
Right.
think of his name. He just
Charles
that
Dutton.
what Charles Dutton. That's right. He when he played certain parts, you're like, okay, let me sit down and take a pen and paper. I'm going to learn something. I mean, he was that type of actor. I think Hollywood is just, there's just certain actors and actresses that they would rather. I'm not going to say not see in certain roles, but they don't want to have to deal with and confront. You know, and that's an interesting way to look at it because they don't know how to confront them. And I think that's and so it's easier to do this other stuff than to sit back and develop characters that look like people in our family or that look like people you may know. That's just the heart of it.
Okay, okay. And that's kind of, and it comes back to where, like we said, it goes back to the, early 90s when you had Martin in a
Hmm.
dress, and well, he didn't have a dress, but Shanae, you
Sine,
had, you
that's
know,
right.
you
Jamie
had
Foxx. Jamie Foxx had somebody too.
in Living Color, Wanda,
Yeah,
yep.
Wanda. Yeah, yeah,
And you had a lot of those, and then you started seeing, and think about the first ever show of In Living Color when it came on right around the same it came on around the same time the Simpsons did, and Simpsons still running almost going on 40 years. But
yeah.
the men on film, Damon
Hmm.
Wayans and
Oh
David Allen
yeah, that's
Greer,
right.
you know, it was supposed to be a parody. It was supposed to be a parody, but fast forward 35 years, it seemed to be normalized, and that's kind of where I got with this. Well, I'm gonna come back to you, Candace. I want to ask some of the people on
Yeah,
the panel.
please.
Big Al, how you doing, Big Al?
Doing great. Learning a lot. Certainly, The Hawk was one of my favorite TV shows as well. So I'm doing fine. Enjoying life.
Do you have any question for our guests?
No, very informative. He's spot on with the AI and all of his insights. So thumbs up.
Miss Sum Sum, I know you're our resident thespian. How are you doing today? I guess I guess she got it. Yeah, there she go. Come on now.
Hi. Hi. It took me a while to hit that button.
Now, what do you think? You've also been in the industry. What do you think about the conversation that me and Candace are having right now?
I think it's very informative. I think it has a lot to do with perspective. If you look back on history, the terrible things that were done to Black people to, I guess, break their spirits and do things to them. But if you go further back, well, around that time, there were men around the Shakespeare time that when they did plays, they also did roles, women's roles as well. So
Yes,
I
that goes
think
all
it's
the way back to the Greek. They always go back to the Greek tragedies and comedies back in Aeschylus's day.
yes. So I think it's about perspective. I do see both sides. So I see Marlon Wayans. I think did an interview the other day, and he was talking about how, things like that really don't affect him. You know, comedy is comedy. So if you're going to dive into something and, you know, give it your all, if it's funny, it's just going to be funny. And then you have actors like Cat Williams that feel that once you put on a dress, you are crossing the line of your masculinity, and you are submitting in a way where it's almost like once you cross that line, people have something over top of you and they can use against you. But I mean, I hear both sides. I think it's about perspective. um I really don't know. As a man, I don't know. um it's hard for me to answer that, but I can see both sides of it.
Okay, okay, I appreciate that, Miss Kim. You have any question for our guest?
No, I don't have anything, but it's very informative.
How about you, Miss Dream? Well, how about my fellow co-host, Chocolate Pearl? Chocolate Pearl, what do you think about this topic?
Unfortunately, I got in a little late. I've been having technical difficulties, plus I was handling some personal stuff. So I really didn't get to hear everything. But what he has said, Dabs and I were kind of conversating about it, the different shows and the ethnic backgrounds and the meanings of them, and what was drawn out for those different um, shows, and the characters were very interesting, and that kind of reminisced on the back end of the story. So I'm sorry I wasn't able to catch everything.
Oh, I was just asking, what do you think? Is there an agenda? Is there an agenda for Hollywood to emasculate the black male image?
I don't know if it's an agenda. I think it kind of fell off. I like what Simpson said about what Cat Williams was talking about, the masculinity of a man if he put on a dress as an actor or actress. Um, that's just like saying uh, when you dress up for Halloween, it's going to take away you. No, it's not. Um, how
But
can
the
he take?
difference with Pearl, the difference with Halloween is that it's a one day thing, and it's not it's not going any well not these days. Back in the day, it may have, but these days it's not gonna you're not gonna get past that.
Yeah, but
Whereas
my thing is this: if you're acting, it's called acting. You portray a different um, character, and you can. What's the problem with a man dressing up as a woman? It's acting. That means that he is versatile. He or she is versatile in their acting. It doesn't mean that it's going to just you know demasculate. If I'm saying that right,
emasculate.
thank you,
Emasculate. Yeah.
thank you.
Uh,
Emasculate
uh,
a man.
go
Um,
ahead. Oh,
from
sorry.
what,
Go ahead.
go ahead, some.
No, I was just going to say that one example I'm listening is when Will Smith did 6 Degrees of Separation, like a long time ago. I think I want to say maybe it was after or around Fresh
It's
Prince of
like
Bel-Air.
93, 90, 93, 94 time. I remember that.
Right, and he kissed a man on screen, and then ever since then, I want to say he has not been looked at fully as a man, which is sad because it is acting. And, he has explained in the past that, it was a role, I wasn't crazy about it, but I did want to broaden my horizons and reach and get into really like
Right.
hone the craft. But that has stayed with him. I mean, like, no matter what he has done, or, everybody keeps bringing up 6 Degrees of Separation. And it's, you know, I don't know. It's just
To me, it's just a role, and
exactly.
nobody said that Cat Williams is a woman because he perms his hair.
No, but the difference is that, and
But
I'm not arguing with you, Chocolate Pearl. I mean,
personal
I tend to
thing.
agree,
Yeah, that's his getting his hair the way his hair is that's his personal thing. So
but
you
I'm gonna give you
turning
an
your
example.
what you're doing, and I can consider you being a woman when you perm your hair versus a man trying to expand his horizon and his acting, make it broader, and saying that I can do anything as an actor or actress. You know what I'm
And
saying?
I
So
understand that.
it shouldn't determine whether or not your sexuality is is at foot. You know
No,
what I mean?
I understand that, but the thing is though, you can a lot of times people can get typecast and doing that and doing stuff like that. Apple had her hand up, but I think she put it back down.
No, I do want to say something. I want to touch on that comment that Samsung made about Will Smith, and the difference is when Robert Downey Jr. did it in Less Than Zero, they didn't see him in a different light. It was
That's
acting. When it happens with black males, unfortunately, they tend to keep a stereotype. And I think
yeah.
the writers, and I put it in a comment in the chat box, that the writers write these roles for black men to make them more acceptable to the white masses. Um, because unfortunately, black people in general have a stereotype of being aggressive and being hard to take and threatening. And I think they do this to make them more palatable and
You know,
That,
more marketable.
go ahead, Candace.
I was going to say, and Apple, I read your comment in the chat, and I actually agree with it because I think there's something to be said, how Hollywood sees black relationships and and or maybe don't want to see black relationships. And let me explain. So you can take a major actor like Will Smith when he did the movie Switch. I don't know if you remember that movie. It was a Valentine's, whatever. What was the race of his wife in that, or his love interest? You know, and
She was
so
white.
yeah, and so most movies when they are talking about a black male, will not, as a lead, that is, will not pair him with another black female. They just don't. I don't know if it's marketing. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's a little bit of the storytelling element, a little bit of the marketing. I did see it in one movie actually with Will. Now that I'm thinking of it, which was Enemy of the State, where he had Regina
Yes,
King as his
yes.
wife, and so I thought that worked well. And but what that
Also,
tells me,
Independent Day, he had a black girlfriend, fiance, give or take.
She was a scripper.
Yeah, but
yeah. But what that tells me is that the creative folks behind it aren't afraid to go there and aren't afraid to explore. And so to Apple's point, to make you know black men or that role more palatable. I think there's something there. I think there's a there because what you find is that most people have never interacted. This is America now. This is 2025, but most people have not interacted with black people in real life in certain parts of this country. That might seem hard to believe, but that is the truth. And so their first impression is how things are perceived, in the media, which they might hear certain stories. Oh, Chicago had 50 some people die. Oh, DC, whatever. That's what they hear, and then they will take that, and then everything basically clouds that. That's a power I can say of the media, but it's also the power of what we see and and of the craft. To change those perspectives. I mean, when Roots came out back in the uh, I think it was the 80s. I don't remember when Roots came out, but that was
Came out in 76.
okay. Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it because you're good. Dre. When it came out, it was the television event of the decade when Roots came out. I mean, it was, people were talking Kunta Kinte, everybody calling everybody Kunta Kinte. But my point being is that it gave some enlightenment to something that people didn't talk about. And it also change the narrative about blacks in America, and that's the power of the medium.
Yeah, go ahead, Some. You have your hand up.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. It took me a while to hit this button. Um, on that end, I really, really have, the older I've gotten, I have really, really learned to really love and appreciate Eddie Murphy. And I love him because he knows our sense of humor. He brings the cast. I mean, it feels like home. A lot of his movies feel like home. So I can watch Harlem Nights over and over again. And I can watch, I'm going to say the first, Coming to America. And then a lot of the different, a
Yeah,
lot of people won't
I
get
feel
this.
you on the second one, but go ahead.
Yeah. But just Eddie Murphy movies, um, the Nutty Professor and things of that nature. He like hones in. You almost forget that he's playing his mom and he's playing the grandmother, and he's just so much fun, and it's just that sense of humor that he's just universal. So I love him. I really, really, and I have so much respect for him for that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And that's understandable. Those roles were, I think, an exception because he was still the main. He was still the main character, and he's playing. He's just like he did in like you said, in Coming to America. He played like 4 different roles, and he was known by different roles. But going back to kind of what what I was saying with typecasting, um, Tiny Lister, what is he best known for?
He's best known for Friday, right?
Yes, the character
Well,
Debo.
being a bully, being a bully, he's typecast as the bully, as
Right. And
the villain in every
it
story.
doesn't matter. And I'm saying it doesn't matter what he played in, he's no longer with us, but no matter what he played in after that, we don't call him by his name. We say Debo. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that is, now Martin kind of escaped that because we know he did Shanae, but he's not known for Shanae, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But but sometimes, and especially with us, we get typecast as brutes, or we get typecast in negative situations where, um, like Tasha Smith. Tasha Smith is an actress. She's been acting for a long time. She played Michael J. White's wife on Why Did We Get Married and Why Did We Get Married Too. No matter what, she could play a professor. We still see her as a hood rat, and that's not. I'm not saying that she is one, but I'm just saying that's it's kind of like that. Go ahead, Apple.
To touch on which would some brought up about Eddie Murphy's role in The Nutty Professor and Norbit. He's an exception to the rule, just like when Ving Rhames played Holiday Hart, he was an exception to the rule. And I think that at this point, um, them putting black men in dresses or making them in feminine roles is like gratuitous. They think that's what people want to see, and that also touches on Jackson's point of we have to let people know what we will and will not consume. And the more we consume these things, like me personally, I'm not a fan of Tyler Perry. I think all his movies are the same, and I think he's a misogynistic woman hater. But that's just my personal opinion. And
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, because I'll go
no,
all on
I'm
tangent.
laughing because I'm laughing because he knows his audience. Now, he knows his audience. He knows that he has to do certain type of things because he tried to go outside of that. Think about that. The movie I call Captain Saber 304, but it's called Good Deeds. You remember that with Tandy Newton?
Mm-hmm.
That was outside of his. That was outside of his wheelhouse. The Alex Cross movie was outside of his wheelhouse. Now Now he's played
Now
plenty
that's
of other
one movie of
roles,
his that I did enjoy, the Alex Cross movie. I don't think he was the perfect match for it, but he did a good job on that.
but what I'm saying is that he knows he has trying to go outside his core audience, and he hasn't been successful. So he likes money, so he's going to do what his people like. He's going to get in that dress and be Medea until Medea don't make no money. But and look at all of his shows that are on BT, Sisters, what is Divorce Sisters, the Black White House, so whatever those. I've seen the titles and I've looked at it a little bit, but it's kind of catnip to some people in the community, and it's not enhancing our overall image. It's kind of pulling us back. That's just my opinion. Kind of like you, Kendra. I'm not a Tyler Perry fan of his Medea stuff, but I'll watch it. I mean, some of it's actually clever if you're paying attention to the underlying message. But it's very formulaic, and sometimes it can be pedantic. Um, so that I know this is a big subject, and we're covering a lot of ground, but it all comes back to it. So Candace, with your projects coming up, what's I know you just talked about your earlier pitches. Do you have any more pitches that you're looking at, or anything that we can hopefully look forward to seeing?
Wow. Well, man, yeah, I mean, I'm always developing and pitching stories and ideas. I just had a pitch a couple of weeks ago at CBS. Unfortunately, it was a pass. It was a medical procedural drama set at Walter Reed, and but we're taking it to other buyers. I always tell people in this industry, it's just some of it is a numbers game, but Stranger Things went out to 19 different buyers, and all of them passed before they got to Netflix. So it's all about just playing that game of persistence and just knowing what you got is good content. But yeah, I'm working on something now that is a historical piece, and I'm also looking to do some playwriting. So that's something that I like for the immediacy of it, and I think that the aspect of not having to, because film and television to get things set up, it's like R&D for in a pharmaceutical space. Something that's on the air now, they were developing that possibly a year or two before. That's just how it happens. And so that's the thing that you have to deal with, knowing that if I did sell something today, it won't come on the air until 2027, maybe 2028. But and that's just how it is. And so something that aligns with what I like as an artist is playwriting or even writing some fiction.
Did we talk? Did we rehearse this? Because I was just going to ask you about your favorite genre that you prefer to write.
We did not. No, we did not rehearse this. But my favorite genre is actually I'll be honest, it's anything for Denzel. Anything for Denzel Washington. I can write. I can write it all day long. As Ray has already mentioned, I come from the military. When I wrote something that actually brought me out here, just to kind of, and I don't, Dre, I don't know if I ever told my coming to Hollywood story. If
Oh,
that makes
please.
so. About, geez, what is it now? So maybe about 18 years ago, I was in New Jersey working in finance for Johnson and Johnson, and Melina at the time was in grad school at Columbia, and I would take writing classes, and in the city, Gotham Writers Workshop, and I took some classes on writing short fiction, but also on playwriting, and I got the great idea that I would start writing screenplays because I'm like, I could do a better job than some of the movies that I would see. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and probably, and I joined a writers group as well. For maybe about 2 years, I would write scripts and send them off to these Hollywood contests and Hollywood fellowships, and I didn't hear anything. One day in, I want to say maybe 2007, 2008, I was driving home on the 270, or I think that 278 or whatever. I was in New Jersey driving home, and I get a call, and I'm like, man, that's a number I don't recognize. But anyway, I got a call from Buena Vista Pictures, got a call from Disney, and they're like, hey, the script you wrote has been going around. And I'm like, well, who is this? And lo and behold, it was the creative team at Disney, and they asked me if I had time to talk about my writing and all that. So I pulled over on the side of the road and ended up kind of getting an interview. That's kind of what happened. They asked me my favorite directors, my writers, all that kind of other stuff that I admired. And the next day, I got a call to say, "Hey, we want to fly you out to LA." And so, within a week, to take a general meeting with the development team. And so, lo and behold, I called in sick in the finance job, and I flew out to LA. That's what happened. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling well," but I was in LA, right? And got invited to come in, and I went. First of all, the interview was all intimidating because they were bringing in people to work on these. Disney is a very factory approach in their creative element. You come in and they still have Walt's fingerprints there, but everyone, it's not just one person writing things. You're kind of tag teaming. But anyway, they were working on this movie called College Road Trip and some other stuff. And that was a movie with Raven Simone and whatever. But the people
and Martin too.
that's Martin. That's right. That's right. That's right. And the pig came later. They were not testing well, so they had to come back and redo that with the pig. So that's how the pig got in. But in any case, people were from SC and all these other film programs, and they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Well, I worked in finance," and lo and behold, I ended up getting an offer to come out and write in-house in a writing fellowship for Disney. That's what brought me out. And I say that to say that when they read my script, they said your voice felt authentic. It felt real, to know that you didn't go to any writing program. And that's basically it. I always initially felt insecure about that, but this kind of is going to tie back into what I guess we're all talking about today is that the authenticity that brought them people that had been reading, and I think they got over 2,000 submissions for to bring into the fellowship type of thing, and they only picked 4 people, and I was one of the 4. To bring in that authenticity is what they felt they needed, and I didn't know. I just was speaking and writing a truth, and that's really what you want to capture, I think, as a writer, which is that truth. Because when we get something that doesn't ring true, we it doesn't resonate, and I think that's the beauty of it. And so yeah, that's what brought me out.
Right. Hey, I like that. I like that. So success happens when luck meets preparation.
That's true, man.
You were prepared for that, and but we've known each other over 30 years, so it's not I am not so I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised because you're good at whatever you do, except basketball. You suck at basketball.
No, I'm not good. I was a guy when basketball. I'm not gonna. Yeah, when basketball was getting played, I was a guy with people like, "Hey man, can you hold my watch? Can you hold my this?" Yeah, I was that guy. Yeah. No, no, that's fine.
but it is funny. I think about when we were in the basic course and how we met and how we were sitting next to each other, and you, me, and Renee. And then we just became, we became one piece, and everybody wanted to hang out with us. It was we kind of knew we had something special, that we had our fun, but we were good at what we did, and everybody seemed to want to hang with us. And you've always had a serious yet intellectual. And I'm not going to say what they used to call you and what they used to call me, but
Yeah. No, you probably remember it. No, don't be bringing. This is yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyway, it was I knew you were going to do great things, because even the NBA when you got out, of the 101st, and you went up to the University of Michigan, I knew you were going to do well because that's just how you're wired. You're wired for success. And you may grumble, but your products and your talent speaks for itself. And that's what I want everybody to take out of it. Like I said, Channis didn't grow up in this. He kicked down the door with his talent, and his talent's keeping him there. So if y'all out there in Facebook land and IG land, in YouTube land, in TikTok land, knowing that this guy didn't go, he didn't start out thinking of the stars, but he put in his work, he got on his purpose, and he did what he needed to do. And he had his lovely bride by his side doing to keep him grounded sometimes when he sometimes gets in the clouds. But it's definitely been a pleasure, Candace, and I appreciate your expertise. I appreciate everybody who's come on the board. And it's a great deal, and I feel honored that you were willing to be interviewed and talking about your perspective. And I'm sure everybody learned something. I sure did. And I realized I probably watched too much TV. but go ahead, Candace. I'm sorry.
No, man, I just want to say I appreciate this. Thank you for that. This is what it's all about. And to me, I just love just telling stories that just can make things a little bit better. And that gives us to what you just, yeah, you can have what I call the potato chips, or you can have the fun, but to give you something that you're going to take away. And so that's what I love doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And just don't let me hear you writing reality TV unless they're paying you a lot.
Oh man, I I haven't jumped into reality yet, man. But if it's
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you. We don't need any more Real Housewives of Compton or or Calabasas or anywhere like that. So keep that East Los.
Yeah, well, Real Housewives of Arlington, that has a nice ring to it.
That's all. It's all good. It's all good. So we're coming up to the close of our show, and I just want to thank everybody for coming on. And usually we have a panel type discussion. I'm glad we were able to do this. This shows that we're able to talk about different topics and bring people on. And if you like that, just let me know. Just let me know you got my socials, you got my emails. Before we go, I'm going to talk to my fellow co-hosts. I'm going to start off with Miss Apple.
Good night, everyone. Janice, I just want to let you know I'm a big fan because Bull is one of my all-time favorite shows, and I'm happy to meet you because you did well on that show. Everyone else, this was very interesting, very informative, very entertaining, as usual. A great, great, great show. And y'all enjoy the rest of your night.
I saw his name. I watched a season 5 episode. It's the one where where Bull's trying to debating whether he's going to the Christmas tree, and one of his investigators was trying to catch her flight. He wrote that. Cause that's where I saw his name. I was like, oh, I know him.
Were you on a cruise? You said you're on. What's
Well,
that?
I was doing some things. I was doing some things, but like I said, I was watching TV and that happened. Next, I'm gonna talk to Chocolate Pearl if she's still on.
Yeah, I'm still here. Thank y'all for coming on, and I'm sorry that I was not as active as I'm usually am, but I'm trying to handle some personal business and be on the show at the same time. So, but thank you, everybody. Don't forget to share, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
And I want to thank everybody who's come on tonight. Like I said, I really enjoyed this, and hopefully I can have you back at another time, Candace. And don't forget to telephone or tell your friend that DFG is back again. And one thing I want to tell y'all, if you can't laugh at yourself, find somebody to laugh at y'all. Find somebody else to laugh at. Y'all be good and have a great evening. Peace out.